New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
New Thought Media Network is excited to present Divine Science Everywhere, Fridays at 2 p.m. Mountain Time and 4 p.m. Eastern. Come explore a modern experience of divine science with Reverend Joy Fletcher, Reverend Jeff Radcliffe, and Bishop Durrell Watkins. Join us as we open our eyes to divine science everywhere we look. Fridays on New Thought Media Network.
Welcome to Divine Science Everywhere, here on the New Thought Media Network. Divine Science Everywhere features divine science ministers and other New Thought guests discussing the principles and practice of divine science. I'm Reverend Joy Fletcher, and I have the privilege of serving as the president of the Divine Science Ministers Association. And I also serve on the board of International New Thought Alliance and a member of ANTN. And also, I am a death doula and a grief educator. Also with me is Reverend Jeff Radcliffe of Giatti Ministries and board member of the Divine Science Ministers Association, as well as the Divine Science Federation International. And also Bishop Durrell Watkins, a senior minister of Sunshine Cathedral and the president of Divine Science Federation International. So today, let us begin with a centering moment. I'm excited to share with you from the Divine Science Monthly, published in July 1930, volume 15, number 7. It's sold for 15 cents a copy and $1.50 per year. So the daily study for Friday, July 11th, and this issue reads, the watchword. The Son of God is endowed with power on high. This power is released into one's life by consciousness, not by talking about it or verbally declaring it. Consciousness is much deeper than mere thought. Thinking may be about a certain condition or a person or a desire. Consciousness is knowing with that which brings forth everything. It is being one with the infinite. This means work. This means consecration. It means steadfastness. It means stripping oneself of all thought of limitation. It means constant vigilance. It also means standing porter at the door of thought. For our God is a jealous God. We cannot use some of God's power, or the God power, to be untrue, to fear conditions. If we purpose to let the Christ be revealed in peace and in love and plenty in the world or in the visible, we have to learn to be one-minded. We have received the fullness of spirit. We live, move, and have our being in this infinite and eternal power and wisdom and love. And as sons, we are to translate this birthright into this world or into the visible. In this respect, we are his agents. We know that all satisfaction is within God, within that which has been given to us. We have to work to translate it into the human plane, into the world. Through consciousness of the infinite spirit, We think God's thoughts after him and realize the power that is ours. End of quote. So now let us allow this truth to move into our understanding, into our being, as we enter a time of inner reflection and conscious union with the infinite. Let us draw inward now, allowing the outer world to fall away. Become aware of your breath, steady and free. Feel the rhythm of your being. Inhale and exhale. Let the breath anchor you in this present sacred space. The Son of God is endowed with power of high. This is not a future hope or a promise. This is your truth. It is now. This power is not bestowed upon you by outer conditions, credentials, or achievements. It is your very being. It is your inheritance. It lives within you now, available, constant, and divine. This power is not released through talking about it, not repeating with empty words, but through consciousness. So, what is consciousness? It's deeper than thought, it's beyond the surface chatter of the mind, is being aware of being one, your oneness with the infinite. It is a conscious union with God, with all that is. Take a moment and feel this. Breathe this. Know this. Feel the presence that is not outside of you, but rather inside you. Divine science everywhere is in all, through all, as all. This presence in which you live and move and have your being. It takes practice. It takes spiritual commitment to recognize this power, this wisdom, this light, this love consistently. So release any thought that may claim that you are powerless, that you live in limitation, any feelings of fear, of comparison, of striving. Instead, remember who and what you are. And as you remember who and what you are, you remember this about everyone else. Remember that this teaching tells us we must stand at the door of thought. Don't give your energy to fear. Remove your attention from lack, the appearance of lack, and guard your mind. And let only that which within as peace, spiritual power, divine love, and infinite wisdom. claim your spiritual birthright. Not someday, but now. You are the living expression, the embodiment of divine wisdom, love, and power. And so as we draw these few moments to a close, we give a quiet thanksgiving. Thank you, Spirit, for the consciousness that heals, empowers, and uplifts. Thank you for this precious spiritual power that lives within me and everyone else. I now go forward in peace, power, and confidence, in clarity, and in remembrance that divine science is in all, through all, as all, and so it is. So thank you for sharing this few moments of centering with me, and we have more good information, and we'll be chatting together in just a few moments. But first, let's take a quick break here from the network, New Thought Media Network. This is Divine Science Everywhere.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Welcome to the Convention of the Americas 2025, Rising Together. Join us for a truly bilingual retreat experience on the shores of the beautiful Lake Chapala, Mexico. July 22nd through July 26th, 2025, at the Hotel Villa Monte Carlo in Jalisco, Mexico. Featuring Reverend Jeffrey Ryan, Dr. Jose de Lira Sosa, Reverend Dr. Kathy Ann Lewis, Reverend Dr. John Waterhouse, and Reverend Dr. David Bruner. Registration is now open, and payment plans are available. Simply visit www.conventionoftheamericas.com. Come be part of a transformative gathering with powerful presentations, workshops, networking time, and just good old relaxing and connecting. Plus, you can learn more about the science of mind and how to live this powerful philosophy in your life. Transform your life at Convention of the Americas 2025, Rising Together.
New Thought Media Network is excited to present Divine Science Everywhere, Fridays at 2 p.m. Mountain Time and 4 p.m. Eastern. Come explore a modern experience of divine science with Reverend Joy Fletcher, Reverend Jeff Radcliffe, and Bishop Durrell Watkins. Join us as we open our eyes to divine science everywhere we look. Fridays on New Thought Media Network.
Hey everybody, we're back. And we've got an interesting topic today because we're going to talk about somebody in the history of divine science that you might not have heard about. And I love bringing up people and bringing them back to life into our thinking, into our awareness. Because sometimes people did a really amazing thing, or they did something behind the scenes for a long, long time, but we only know about 4 or 5 people, sort of the superstars. But there's so many things. So we're going to talk about, her name is Agnes Gaylor, and I've done a little bit of digging, and I know Reverend Jeff has done a little bit of digging, so we're going to talk about that in a bit. But before we do that, Reverend Jeff most weeks has some birthdays to tell us about, so that we can wish be acknowledging of people's birthdays. So who got older this week?
Well, not just this week, but this month. We're good because there's just a handful of our members. These are all members of Divine Science Ministers Association. The first one, we actually gave him a happy birthday when he was on the show a couple of weeks ago, Reverend Dr. Tim Stewart. His birthday was July 4th. Our minister, and I love her, Roma Carlisle. She lives in Hawaii. Her birthday is today. So happy birthday, Reverend Roma. And Reverend Margie Chapman, she lives in Idaho. Her birthday is coming up on July 27th. And we also have a very special birthday this month from a past Divine Science light. Everybody knows who Emmett Fox was. Well, Emmett Fox's birthday was July 30th. And for those who don't know, and you are in very small company if you don't know who was, I'll tell you just a little bit about Reverend Dr. Emmett Fox. He was born in Ireland, and he was eventually came to the United States. Now, back in 1906, W. John Murray started a church in New York City called the Church of the Healing Christ. And he was there for several years. In about 1917, he invited Nona Brooks. She was in Buffalo at the time doing some guest speaking at a church there, invited her to come to New York City and take over his pulpit for a little while he went on vacation. So Nona Brooks came and preached at the Church of the Healing Christ in New York City. When Reverend Dr. John came back, Nona ordained him into divine science. This was 1917, I believe. And she allowed him to rename the church the First Divine Science Church of New York. But it was always colloquially known as the Church of the Healing Christ. Well, Reverend Dr. John Murray was there until 1931 when he decided to retire. Who did he get to take his place in the pulpit? Emmett Fox. Emmett Fox was was earlier ordained by Nona Brooks into divine science, and so he took over the pulpit there at the Church of the Healing Christ. This is at the very beginning of the Great Depression, which was not only here in the United States, but was pretty much worldwide. He had the largest attendance of any church in the United States at that time. A divine science church had the most people. They had like 5,500. They were averaging about 5,500 while they were in the New York Hippodrome. And they ended up having to move to Jerome, where did they go? Didn't they go to
It was the
they went I'm drawing a blank on the name.
It's not the one at Penn Station. It's the other one, the other big
the big performance.
Rockefeller? No,
Rockefeller
was Unity.
Oh, no, wasn't it? Oh, well, anyway, they went to a bigger space because they couldn't.
Was it Carnegie Hall?
That sounds right.
It was one of the big, yeah.
Carnegie Hall, yes. So, and he was there at the Church of the Healing Christ until 1951 when he made his transition. But he's also known, Emmett Fox is also known for something else that is very important to a lot of people, not only in our movement, but worldwide. Emmett Fox's secretary was the mother of one of the men who worked with Alcoholics Anonymous co-founder Bill W. And it was Emmett Fox's influence that the spirituality aspect of the 12-step recovery movement came into being. Early 12-step groups went to New York City. They made pilgrimages to hear him preach at the Church of the Healing Christ. And his writing, Sermon on the Mount, the Golden Key, 7 Main Aspects of God, are all fundamental inspired writings for the 12-step movement. So, while we're celebrating Reverend Tim and Reverend Roma and Reverend Margie, we cannot forget Reverend Dr. Emmett Fox and all that he contributed to the divine science movement and to the world at large. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, everyone. And, people don't know that, a lot of people don't know that, that Dr. Fox was a resource for the early AA movement. That a couple of his first books were supplemental reading. Of course, the Blue Book is the big book, but that his was supplemental reading almost from the start. So that he was very influential in that, and that he was ordained in divine science, and that his church was a divine science church, super significant church. Honestly, the most attended church in the Depression in the United States. And so people don't know that. But he also influenced Norman Vincent Peale, another New York minister, and his power of positive thinking. He had some connection to Unity. I don't know if he taught classes or whatnot, but
I think he started in Unity before he
well, he wanted, yes, but they wouldn't. They wanted him to go through their training program, and he was already up and running. So Nona said, I'll take you right now, today. And she did. And but
we thank everybody.
Publishing. He did a lot. Unity did a lot of his publishing after, Anyway, so he's just connected to everybody. He's sort of ours, but everyone thinks he's theirs because they're also right. He played with everybody.
Yeah,
I love that. Well, back to the grande dame, the lady du jour, Agnes Gaylor. That is not a name you hear, because when you think about the biggies, right? You think about Nona Brooks, you think about Melinda Kramer, you think about the Fillmores, so you think about Myrtle Fillmore, and then maybe even Cora, who was Charles's second wife. You think about Emma, and you may think about Emily Cady. Yes. And those are the ones people know, but there are so many more people, and especially in divine science. Divine science has always had this gender balanced energy. It was founded by women. Its secondary founding was still by women. Its first and for a long time main school was run for generations by women, and so there's this feminine element and feminist element in divine science that we should never forget, because it's one of the things that makes us unique, I think. Well, Agnes Gaylor is in that lineage, and she was in her day notable in divine science. She started churches, she pioneered churches, at least 2, I think, one in Washington State, and Seattle, no less, an urban area. And she was actually known as a healer. A lot of people are known as for maybe being a great intellect, or some for being a healer, or some for starting churches or running churches. She did it all. She was all of those things. Her philosophy emphasized healing, emphasizing the power of thought and the inherent divinity within each individual, which of course is divine science in all through all as all. And that was her philosophy. That was her healing technique. As a divine science minister, she dedicated her life to teaching this principle and empowering others to harness their spiritual capabilities for learning and for personal growth. Now, beyond her daily ministerial duties, she was a healer, recognized a healer. People would come to her for healing. And that aspect of her work underscored her belief in the practical application of spiritual truths to achieve physical and mental well-being. This is the divine science modus operandi, that once you know who you are, once you know what's real, then you can expect to experience and demonstrate what is real, what is really real. We look at appearances, we look at trends, we look at how things seem to be in a moment, and we think that's it. But the truth is so much more. The truth is so much more than we see in any given moment. Facts are always changing, but truth is steady. Truth is constant. So that's the thing about New Thought, is to try to get beyond the ever-changing facts to the never-changing truth. And then if you can realign with the truth, you can experience things differently. Well, she was one of the great teachers of that philosophy. Her teaching centered on the idea that through a deeper understanding of one's connection to the divine, individuals could overcome illness and adversity. Her legacy lies in her unwavering commitment to spiritual healing and her role in disseminating the transformative message of divine science. And the transformative message of divine science can be boiled down to the word omnipresence. Mm-hmm. That whatever is true, whatever is real, whatever is divine, whatever is ultimate, whatever is really real, we can call it mind or spirit or God. We can call it the spirit of the universe with stars in her hair. I mean, we can get as creative and as poetic about it as we want, but whatever it is, it's all that is. And that's the divine science understanding, and how we try to realign our, when we're out of a line, and we all get out of a line. Mm-hmm. That just happens. Mm-hmm. But we also have ways to get back in alignment, and that's what divine science helps us do. Now, I've pretty much told you what I know about her, except maybe the most important thing. Yes, she started churches. Yes, she healed a lot of people. Yes, she was a great person. Yes, she was part of this feminist lineage in divine science, but also she ordained Ernest Holmes. Now, Ernest Holmes, who started the Church of Religious Science, the School of Religious Science and Philosophy, or I think it was the Institute back then, the Institute of Religious Science and Philosophy. He's known as the founder of religious science. He was ordained in divine science. He studied independently. He did sort of a practicum with his brother, who was a Congregationalist minister. He went to a pretty famous seminary in New England, in Hartford, and then had his own New England ministry. So between studying with his brother, who he then influenced, because he then helped Ernest with the religious science movement, he also studied Greek philosophy, the Bible, the Quran. He absorbed everything. Whereas some people had a healing experience or a visionary experience, and that led them into this new world of truth. Ernest Holmes just investigated. He just studied. He just explored, and he sort of systematically discovered truth and incorporated it and demonstrated it. He put it into practice, and it worked. He's like, "Oh, okay, the ancient people were right." And so. But when he got ordained, he was ordained in divine science. And so was Fenwick. For a long time, I thought Agnes Gaylor ordained Fenwick too, but she didn't. I don't know who ordained Fenwick, but he was ordained. And as far as I know, the Congregationalist and divine science were the only ordinations Fenwick ever had. He helped with religious science, and he helped with Seiko Noe, which is another New Thought movement in Japan and Brazil, and now all over the world. But he was divine science minister. And of all the people who led that famous church in New York, I believe Fenwick was one of them, after the first 2-3 big ones. And also Albert Grier, I think, was one of them, who founded the Church of Truth, but did a lot of stuff with divine science. So yes, she ordained Ernest Holmes. And so if you see familiarity, if you see things that are very similar between divine science and religious science, well, you would. They sort of started at the same time and with the same people. And so yeah, Ernest Holmes' ordination was with divine science, and then from that he had his own sort of take on things in his own direction. But it started with an ordination, and Agnes Gaylor was the one who ordained him. So that's a sort of fascinating. And I've taught classes that had religious science people in them. They almost never know that. Mm-hmm. And of course, I guess even divine science don't know until we tell them. But it's sort of an important thing. And that's what I can tell you about her off the top of my head. But I know that Jeff has also done some digging around, and so there's more. And here it comes from him.
There is more. First of all, look at the photograph that we're showing you right now. This was taken on Venice Beach in California back probably around 1917, 1918. We're looking at the back. If you look at the back first, that's Ernest Holmes on the left, his brother Fenwick in the middle. Next to Ernest, brother Fenwick, is Reverend Dr. Reginald Armour, who was a mentee of Ernest Holmes. Next to him is, and I have got like 100 tabs open on my computer right now, as well as like 15 different documents, and I can't lay my hands on the one I'm looking for. I can't remember the woman's name. She is Agnes Gaylor's niece, right there. Also, if we go to the front of the picture, there's Nona Brooks on the left, Agnes Gaylor there on the right, and for the life of me, I don't remember who the lady is in the front. But this was taken, like I said, at Venice Beach in I think it was closer to 1918. Now, I was in touch with Reverend Dr. Jesse Jennings, who is a really bright light and a great historian of New Thought, who is with the Centers for Spiritual Living and Religious Science movement. And he gave me some information that I didn't know, is that Agnes started out as founding her church in Seattle. I think she probably came to California and founded another one because she came to Long Beach. Now, they were in, Ernest and his brother were kind of in Venice Beach for a while. Then they moved to Long Beach with their families. Aunt Gussie Rundle, I'm not quite sure how she fits into this. Other than the fact that her niece was Hazel Foster. And Hazel Foster was the lady that Ernest Holmes would marry in 1927. So we've got like a family reunion right there in that picture. Mm-hmm. Now, I also found something else. Ernest and Fenwick, back in, it was prior to 1917, they started a magazine called Uplift. And you mentioned Reverend Geyer earlier, with the Church of the Truth. He had founded a magazine called Truth Magazine. Well, Ernest and Fenwick had Uplift magazine. They had published that under Ernest's name. And so they merged with Truth Magazine, and Agnes Gaylor wrote several meditations and prayers and articles for them. And I found one which, now she was a product of her day. She was born in 1860. I don't know exactly when she was born, but 1860 was when her birth year was. And she wrote in the language of the times, which was rather flowery and ornate. But I did come across a writing that she did for Truth Magazine that's a little more modern and relatable to us. And so I'd like to read that right now. It's called "No Good Thing Shall Be Withheld. The supply for every want awaits the demand. Then it comes to you, possibly from a source you least expected. The demand is the knock at the door. Faith is the secret key that unlocks the door and takes hold of the thinking hoped for and delivers it to you, bringing into evidence the thing not seen. The desire in the heart for all good things is God tapping at the door of your soul consciousness with his infinite supply, a supply that is ever useless unless there is a personal demand for it. Before I call, I will answer, saith the Lord. O wonderful mystery of life! Surely it is the paradigm of all the glory and splendor of the world's redemption administered to each person. So what she's saying basically is God is going to give you anything that you need. All you got to do is ask for it. And that was what she published in the Truth Magazine in June of 1918. On page 10, if you're ever able to find an actual copy of the magazine. It's on page 10.
There is Albert Grier wrote a a couple of books, 2 or 3 books I know of. And of course, his most famous one is his most famous was, I'll never forget, whatever it's called, Life and Truth, Truth and Life, something like that. Well, anyway, it was sort of not maybe exactly co-authored, but a lot helped by another divine science Agnes, and that was Agnes Lawson. Agnes Lawson helped him with his book. She didn't get a lot of credit for it. I don't know why. She wasn't exactly a ghostwriter. She actually helped a lot, but you don't think of her when you think of the book. But another divine scientist, Agnes Lawson, actually helped Reverend Greyer with his book, one of his books. And she was known for her own book, which was a small book called Hints for Bible Study, I think, something like that. So it was a divine science text about Bible study, Agnes Lawson, and she helped Greyer, who founded the Church of Truth, but led for a while a divine science church in New York. So I love the sometimes we want to get territorial and set up all these, artificial boundaries, and nobody owns truth, and the more you share it, the more it's experienced. So I love that about us, is that divine science has always played pretty well, with the others in the sandbox. We're like, oh, okay, you know what I know, let's enjoy that. And that's really been our legacy forever.
And what's interesting is when A.C. Greyer started his Church of Truth, he started it in Spokane, Washington in 1913. So Spokane's, it's a ways away. It's across the state from Seattle. But Agnes was writing for the magazine, so he had to have known her. I mean, there's no way he could not have known her in real life. I mean,
when I was looking around, and they all traveled on speaking circuits in those days too. So you would have heard people eventually come to your town anyway. But when I was sniffing around, and I didn't follow up enough on it. I can't cite sources, so I'm always skeptical. Like, is this even true? But there was some people seem to believe that that Gaylor, when she went to California, I guess from Washington, when she went to California, that she played a lot with Unity, that she did a lot with Unity churches, which wouldn't surprise me. I know a lot of divine science to do, but so not only did she work within divine science and ordain the person who would start religious science, she may have also been involved in Unity, which makes her the ideal divine scientist. That just sounds like all the divine scientists I know. Just go where you're needed, do what's needed, not so territorial. But yes,
we're teaching the same truth.
Yeah,
we're just some of the details, the minutia may differ a little bit, but truth is where you find it, and truth is everywhere because it's all part of spirit. So so for them to cross over from divine science to Unity to what eventually became religious science, and then Centers for Spiritual Living, it just kind of makes sense because we're all the same thing. We're all brothers and sisters. We're just looking at this thing from a slightly different angle, but it's all the same. We're still looking at the same thing. So it would be wonderful if we could just kind of bring it all back together again in one cohesive thing. That would be my dream.
I've heard the different philosophies described as unity is sort of poetry and philosophy, and religious science is sort of calculus and algebra, and divine science is the blend of the two. Divine science is the liberal arts curriculum where you do it all a little bit.
I love that.
I do love that. So, well, Reverend Joy, don't you need to give us a little time to get a drink or something?
Breath.
Yeah, and then we'll come back. We'll do some crosstalk. But first, Reverend Joy has to lead us into a thing, some business.
Into business, yes. So, I'd like to return to some things that were brought up in the reading here. So let's do that after we take a break. So this is New Thought Media Network, Divine Science Everywhere.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
New Thought Media Network is excited to present Divine Science Everywhere, Fridays at 2 p.m. Mountain Time and 4 p.m. Eastern. Come explore a modern experience of divine science with Reverend Joy Fletcher, Reverend Jeff Radcliffe, and Bishop Durrell Watkins. Join us as we open our eyes to divine science everywhere we look. Fridays on New Thought Media Network.
Actually, I'd like to mention or talk about the collaboration between the New Thought organizations. I mean, not only do we have organizations where we meet and have conferences like Anton and INTA and things, but also from what I learned in my studies, several of the New Thought movements, as you said, shared each other's pulpits. They were on speaking circuits, and the same thing with writings. And I don't think there was this protective sense. It was just sharing new thought is new thought. And also in our history, there are some names that people might not know that were divine scientists, and then maybe they were ordained in another New Thought movement or after that, or the reverse. One of them is Jack Boland, who was at the Church of Today in Warren, Michigan, and had a huge church. And they had many 12-step groups there. And I remember traveling there on Wednesdays. They would have special speakers, and it was just phenomenal. I saw Johnny Coleman there and other people, and it was just a very special place. So he was a divine science minister before he was ordained in Unity. Donald Curtis, from what I understand, was also a divine science minister too. And was it Unity that he was ordained later?
He was ordained in Unity first, yeah, and then he came into
and then divine science. Okay.
And what's great about him is he was also an actor. You can find his movies; they are out there for you to find him. Look him up on IMDb.
Oh, thanks. And also Erwin Grigg. He was, I believe, ordained by Nona Brooks, and he also was in the Detroit area when he was in the Unity movement. So there are many people that have more than one ordination, and divine science is one of them. So
Rocco Errico is a divine science minister.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Annie Ricks Millets, who started the Homes of Truth, did a lot of writing and teaching for the Unity School in Unity Village. So yeah, it's on and on it goes.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. So it was really exciting to find that reading that I read today online. Internet can be pretty neat, and the language is different than our current language. I know that much more approach of using maybe a little more scripture than some people are accustomed to right now. And what stood out to me, and I kind of like your input about that statement, for our God is a jealous God. Did that stand out to you, and what did that mean to you when you heard it?
There are words that people used to use in religious settings that if you're an insider, the insider language makes sense. But so few people are from religious backgrounds now. Used to, like 90% of the people in the U.S. were affiliated with some sort of church, and now that's down to about 67%. So about a third of this country, words just mean what they mean to them. They don't have this religious layer over it or whatever. So yeah, we hear jealous and we think, oh, that's sort of petty. That's sort of trying to own somebody. That's being insecure. And what they meant in those old days was that the divine so wanted to be known and experienced that it would be sad if you looked in the wrong ways, if you committed idolatry or whatever, if you were not faithful to the true paths or whatever. It's still not language I would use. Even it's not the way I would describe things anyway, because if God is all there is, God can't be jealous. God just and if love isn't judgmental, then why would God even care if you so-called got it wrong? I mean, it's just all an experience. It's just all, we're playing and learning and trying things. But in those more conservative ways of thinking, they thought there's the right way, and the truth. God wants you to get it right, and so it's sad if you don't. But so I bristled a little bit, but I also thought, well, I just wouldn't say it that way. That's just not how I would say it.
Right.
If I could throw in just a little bit of a weird metaphysical bent to this.
Sure.
We're talking about a scripture from the book of Exodus, which says, "You shall not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord, thy God, am a jealous God." Well, Lord in that case is talking about Yahweh, who the Jewish people, the Israelite people at that time, were not allowed to name, so they called him Jehovah, which we understand now, tetragrammaton, if you're into some more metaphysical stuff. But this is what we know in New Thought as the law. This is universal law. So when we're talking about I am a jealous God, you're attributing things to everybody else, but you don't seem to realize that this is all coming from universal law. What's going on in your life is all part of your consciousness tied in with universal law. So I'm kind of making mental connections on that plane, thinking that that's what they meant by jealous God. It's not really that I'm jealous so much as you're off on the wrong track. Over here's where it is. So.
Yes. Well, thank you for that, and I like your perspective, both of you. Also, it struck me as that it's implying that Scripture implies that God is a person, and we don't practice that in our New Thought teachings. So, that's one of the earliest things that we learn when we take classes, is that God is not a person that sits on a throne and sits there and judges and things. It's spirit, it's energy, it's universal law. So I dove a little deeper into it too, and an idea is that and it said in the reading too, that be careful what you think. Be careful what you think. Think positively of what you are wanting. You want to experience complete healing, or prosperity, or love, or things. Don't be focusing your mind on what might be the opposites. So I think that was it.
I
So.
think it's interesting that it says, or fun. I mean, people could say, well, you're just playing word games. And okay, but isn't all language playing word games? But anyway, it's that the scripture, the in the Torah there says, you have no other gods before me. You know what I mean? When you read it out loud, when you say it, you're saying me. Have no other gods before me. Don't see anything outside of yourself as being different from yourself. Have no other gods beside me. That is not how that is normally in traditional Christianity or Judaism interpreted, but in a New Thought conversation, that is bound to come up. You know, that I think it was Reverend Ike who used to play with the top of that list, where or actually from Exodus 3, where the divine says to Moses, I am, tell them I am something. I am that I am who I will be, or, whichever translation. And Reverend Ike would say, he's saying, I am that I am. That I am that you're looking for. I am that. I am that I am. And so those are just perspectives that come up in metaphysical conversations that just sound brand new, or maybe even scary to people who have never considered that. But if you're going to say things like me and I am, eventually you really hear, oh my gosh, I just said me or I am.
And it's interesting, and you just brought up something to mind. Several years ago, it was not as popular as The Secret. Rhonda Byrne cashed in big bucks on that one. But what came after that was James Twyman's The Moses Code. And a much more minor hit. But he brought up the same point, Bishop, that you did, that there are two ways to look at this. He said, I am that. I am. I am that. I am. And then I am that. I am. So where you put the emphasis on the words changes the meaning just enough so that there are you can see it from a couple of different angles. But no matter how you put it out, whether you're looking at that and bringing it into yourself, or you're taking yourself and putting it out there into everything, I am that.
And
I am
Yahweh, and we have no idea how to say it because they took all the vowels out, and so we're guessing. The Germans put in an extra letter so we could come up with Jehovah, but it's but Yahweh is a to be verb. So I mean, so just saying I is really I am isness. Well, that's the ground of being that Paul Tillich talked about, and that's that that I am one with the source of all being. There's one power, there's one presence, there's God is all there is, there's omnipresence. Well, that's right there in the name that we can't say, Yahweh, because it is a to be verb.
Right.
I have friends who practice other metaphysical traditions, one of which is ceremonial and chaos magic, and a lot of them pronounce it Yahweh. I'm like, okay, whatever works. Like you said, there are no vowels. We don't know for sure. So, whatever you use, whatever works.
Right.
And we got here because we were talking about Agnes Gaylor. We made a hell of a leap.
But these are the principles that she lived by and taught and healed with. That's, I mean, it's really on topic yet. Another thing I love about that is in the Ten Commandments where it says, don't use my name in vain. Well, that's not about swearing or, mispronouncing a name or whatever. It's, if my name is who shall say sent me, I am. Well, anytime you say anything negative or derogatory about yourself, you're using the Lord's name in vain. You're using I am in a negative and vain and unproductive way. Also, if you're justifying meanness or cruelty in the name of God, that is also using God's name in vain. But no one swears more than me, and I have no guilt about it. So yeah, that's not what it's about.
We haven't gotten together personally to have a swear off or anything, but I can give you a run for your money. Ask Reverend Michael Mangus; he'll tell you.
All right.
Now here, and one more thing, and then we're almost
Yeah, she's rounding us up. We're at that time again.
But one more thing, I can't find any evidence that Agnes Gaylor wrote books, but we know that she wrote essays and she wrote articles and things of that nature. And one of the places that you can find, I think it's 5 or 6 of her essays, are in a book called Courage, Conviction, and Consciousness, which was written by a divine science minister, as well as being a former attorney and now working in real estate, our Reverend Dr. C. William Mercer. So look for Courage, Conviction, and Consciousness, and you'll find 4 or 5 of Agnes Gaylor's offerings to the world, as well as a boatload of other stuff from notable New Thought and Truth women.
Thank you. Thank you.
We need to get Will onto the show. He would be fascinating to talk
Yes,
to.
He's like a historian.
So we need to take one more quick break before we wrap up. So this is Divine Science Everywhere on New Thought Media Network.
New Thought Media Network is excited. New Thought Media Network is excited to present Divine Science Everywhere, Fridays at 2 p.m. Mountain Time and 4 p.m. Eastern. Come explore a modern experience of divine science. With Reverend Joy Fletcher, Reverend Jeff Radcliffe, and Bishop Durrell Watkins. Join us as we open our eyes to divine science everywhere we look. Fridays on New Thought Media Network.
I only want posi tunes in my life from now on. Did you see that in the commercial from the radio?
Yeah.
The radio. I only want posi tunes from now on.
That's great. That's great. Super, super. So stay tuned. We have future guests. Linda Martello Whitsett, who is an award-winning author and former director of Silent Unity. And she's confirmed on July 25th. And another guest that we're scheduling is Reverend Dr. John Waterhouse, the Center of Spiritual Living and author of 2 books. And we have more coming. So I'm so excited that this is our 13th broadcast. That's awesome. And I thank my co-hosts and Reverend Michael Mangus today for helping us in broadcasting. And we really, really appreciate that. So remember that divine science everywhere means God is in all, through all, and as all. Yay. Until next time, we are Divine Science Everywhere on New Thought Media Network. And